We have a pretty huge update on the Rams quarterback situation. We're going to talk about Matthew Stafford and the latest update on whether or not he will be returning to the Rams next season. We're also going to talk about the future of the quarterback position. Of course, we love Matthew Stafford, but will he be the quarterback for the Rams forever? No. So who will replace him? We're going to talk about some two options that are kind of continuously being rumored around the Rams and who they may be picking up and signing to possibly be the future of the quarterback position for the Los Angeles Rams, all on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Josh. If you don't remember, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor and press that subscribe button, as 77.6% of you guys are watching the videos but still not subscribed to the channel. Do me a favor and press that subscribe button so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. First things first, Matthew Stafford, does he return to the Rams? Well, that question seems to be kind of somewhat answered at this time. Again, we just talked about Matthew Stafford's wife being on her podcast, Kelly Stafford, breaking down her frustrations about the entire situation, right? Thinking that the Rams are in a good position, maybe keep Cooper Kupp, one of his favorite weapons, but overall, the Rams deciding to move on from Cooper Kupp seems to have upset her a little bit, and she kind of voiced her opinion about possibly leaving. The Rams are being open to leaving, whatever the situation is for Stafford and the Rams. She's willing to be ready to move on, and so I kind of started raising some eyebrows, started asking some questions. Will Stafford be returning or not? Is he upset? Is she kind of an extension of him? Well, overall, it seems like that may not be the case, as an NFL insider gives Rams fans a big sigh of relief in latest Matthew Stafford news. Hinting, of course, the story is already hinting, as the title already says, giving the Rams fans a huge sigh of relief. Maybe Matthew Stafford ultimately may be staying with the Rams overall. We'll pull up what they're talking about here in detail. The Rams offseason just got a little clearer. Despite the ongoing speculation about Matthew Stafford's future in LA, it looks like the veteran quarterback isn't going anywhere. According to ESPN's Dan Graziano, Stafford is likely to return to the Rams in 2025, per sources close to the situation. You know, Stafford, obviously we know, who turned 37 this week, has remained confident in the team's ability to contend and believes in the direction of the franchise. That hasn't stopped trade rumors from going around, especially with the quarterback needy teams like the Steelers in the mix. But as of now, Stafford staying put in LA seems to be the expectation. I don't know why they really mentioned the Steelers. If I would think of any team that would want to trade for a quarterback like Matthew Stafford, it'd probably be like the Minnesota Vikings, possibly. It's a very popular name I've heard rumored around. But overall, in general, right now, it seems at this moment in time, Stafford is likely to stay with the Rams. And we kind of have been expecting this, right? Even though the Cooper Kupp situation came up, I talked about, his wife's comments saying that, maybe we shouldn't really look too deep into these. She's kind of just giving her own personal opinion on the situation, saying that she's ready to move if that's what they're doing, but they're lost. They were a little bit lost in the situation, not understanding, hey, are we going to go all in with Stafford, Kupp, and Nacua? And we talk about this. I said it, right? If you're going to go all in and keep Matthew Stafford, might as well keep Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, because the reality is you're an older team. Keep those guys around all together. See what you could build on top of that after you mess with the contracts, of course, a little bit financially, get things in order, and then see if you can go all in for a guy like Myles Garrett we talked about, which I know some fans aren't really a fan of. But, in general, just going all in and trying to win a Super Bowl now, next season, because it may be your last opportunity to try to do so with this kind of young core in the mix on defense and obviously the aging veterans on offense. So a little bit of a confusing time right now. Are they going to stay with, the older veterans? Well, they're moving on from Cooper Kupp, and it looks like they're maybe going to keep Matthew Stafford. So kind of not really what we expected, but overall, it's fine. It seems like that's what the Rams are going to do at the moment. It seems likely, again, not guaranteed, but likely they're going to keep Matthew Stafford on board. So that's probably a good sign, I think, for a lot of Rams fans out there for sure. We can move on to the next story here, as Davante Adams, speaking about Cooper Kupp being moved on from, could Davante Adams be Cooper Kupp's Rams replacement? I don't really like the sound of this one. Now, I will say this before anybody scoffs at this idea. Davante Adams has been playing better than Cooper Kupp the last year, at least, even last season alone, right? 700 yards roughly for Cooper Kupp. Davante Adams over 1,000 yards. That's including, what he played, I think, 3 games in Oakland or in Vegas with the Raiders, and then he played the rest of the 11 games he played that last season with the Jets. Pretty crappy situation we talked about, right? We've been talking about, in general, fans, the media have been talking about the Jets and the bad situation they have been in, not really succeeding on offense, but yet he still got over 1,000 yards, versus Cooper Kupp couldn't even get over 800 yards this past year. Yes, dealing with injuries and all that. So generally speaking, stats-wise, right, I think overall, maybe some people would say Davante Adams had a better season or has been playing better as of late, as opposed to what Cooper Kupp has been putting on the field. But do you really want to go from aging veteran to aging veteran? I don't really think that's the idea that the Rams have in mind, right? Obviously, if you're moving on from Cooper Kupp, you're moving on from him for a reason, and I think that reason would be he's an aging veteran who is on the decline. You don't want to spend a bunch of money on a veteran receiver like that, and so why not move on from him? Maybe draft a receiver, maybe trade for a young receiver. Maybe this conversation was talking about possibly trading for Garrett Wilson. I don't know if that's a possibility. The Jets are even interested in doing that, but then I would actually kind of understand at least the reasoning behind it. But going after Davante Adams, I don't really understand the reasoning. And if you really dive into the article itself from Jeremy Fowler here, what he's talking about, the reason why we're having this conversation is ESPN's Jeremy Fowler said this: the Jets must address the future of the receiver Davante Adams, whose $38.3 million cap hit is untenable. Sorry. A source told me Adams is intrigued by a return to the West Coast and would be open to potentially joining teams such as the Rams or the Chargers. If he gets released, I would put the 49ers in the conversation too. Adams grew up in Northern California. So that's what ESPN's Jeremy Fowler is saying about the situation. So he's essentially saying that it looks like Davante Adams wants to go to the West Coast. Played in New York for a little bit, or New Jersey, if you will, and maybe didn't like the cold weather. Decided, you know what, if this isn't going to work out with Aaron Rodgers, I might as well go back to the West Coast and just play back in California for a majority of the season. Not a bad idea, and if he's going to do that, of course, Rams, Chargers, Niners, that all seems to make sense. But overall, like I said, I don't think the Rams are really in that situation where they want to move on from an aging veteran and go get an aging veteran. I just don't think that's the right mindset where the Rams should be, and I don't think that's where the Rams are. Les Snead and everybody's a little bit smarter than that. I don't think they would move on from a Rams legend just to get another aging guy. It just doesn't really make any sense. If you're going to move on from Cooper Kupp, you better get, first of all, a solid, at least-ish return, maybe a third, fourth-round pick. I think, honestly, a third would be kind of hopeful at this point in terms of production from what Cooper Kupp has done. You may not be able to get more than a fourth-round pick. A fourth-round pick maybe even be asking for a lot. I know it sounds crazy, but that's just the reality of the way the trade market works. Everyone knows you're trading him, so why would they offer you a bunch? So I think if you can get like a fourth-round pick for him and then replace him with someone like through the draft or replace him with a free agent out there that's not necessarily an aging veteran like Davante Adams, I think that's probably the route. A younger player to kind of maybe matches the timeline of Puka Nacua. That might be a better option for the Rams. Again, I don't think you move on from aging veteran to move on to an aging veteran. It's just not really ideal. Trying to find Stafford's replacement. We're talking about finding Cooper Kupp's replacement. I know Stafford's going to be back on the team next year, but let's try to find the future quarterback of the Rams. And there's two names that keep coming up in conversation. So Rams tab, top destination for a compelling quarterback. This situation, clearly we're talking about Justin Fields, a name we've brought up this offseason already. The Rams have been named one of the top landing spots for quarterback Justin Fields in NFL free agency. I'm not really opposed to this. I don't know how other Rams fans feel, but personally, I'm not really opposed to this situation. I think it's interesting. I think it's intriguing. Sean McVay has said he wants to get more versatile on offense. Justin Fields is a quarterback who, even if he's just backing up Matthew Stafford, you actually might be able to put him on the field for some red zone touches. Maybe you have kind of wildcat offense, if you will. It's not wildcat if he's the quarterback, but you guys get what I'm saying. Getting him in there. Like if you guys remember Trey Lance in San Francisco, some of the creative ways that Kyle Shanahan was able to get Trey Lance involved in the offense, even though he was the backup quarterback at the time. I think that's where Justin Fields comes into play for the Rams. You kind of get some interesting plays in there in the red zone, get a little bit more versatile in terms of, we have a running quarterback who can actually throw the ball a little bit in the backfield, but ultimately he's here to possibly learn from Matthew Stafford. How do you become a more consistent quarterback, sitting in the pocket, looking down the field, making the right reads, and then also using your legs to continuously be that versatile quarterback that you already are? That's kind of the goal if you were to get a Justin Fields. I really like this signing. He probably wouldn't cost that much if this is the case for the Rams. I like what they'd be doing here if they picked up Justin Fields just to back up Matthew Stafford, not to replace him immediately, to back him up for a year. If the Los Angeles Rams aren't interested in drafting a successor to Matthew Stafford, they could still sign one. Fields may be entering his 5th season as a pro, but he's still just 25 years old and won't be commanding top of the market money at quarterback position. That makes him a cost-effective developmental project for an offensive-minded coach like Sean McVay, who could help resurrect Fields' career. And that's kind of how I feel. I feel like Sean McVay, of all coaches, could really get things done with Justin Fields. I really think he can kind of bringing out the best in Justin Fields. And on top of that, we saw with the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Like, we just saw him start for Russell Wilson when Russell Wilson was hurt. And some people even questioned starting Russell Wilson over Justin Fields at some point in the year because Fields was winning games. He wasn't playing the best. He wasn't throwing for 500 yards a game, but he was playing good football and they were winning football games. So why wouldn't you want to be interested in something like that? A quarterback who can win, right? We've seen him win in Chicago a little bit. We've seen him win games in Pittsburgh a little bit. We've seen him start games in the NFL. We've seen him have flashes. Let's just see if we can have him learn in a year behind Stafford, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and see if we can get him to be one of the better young quarterbacks in the NFL, like we kind of been anticipating he was going to be since he's been drafted. So, interesting idea. You guys let me know how you guys feel about the Justin Fields situation. The alternative, the other signing that's been really popular is one that I don't really like, and that is Zach Wilson. He's the backup quarterback right now for the Denver Broncos. He's now a free agent, and it's just a SPO track right here talking about the projection for his salary, and it would be for Zach Wilson, it would be an average of just $3.3 million annually, a small price to pay for the Rams team with Les Snead as a general manager and McVay as a head coach. Two guys more than willing to take a shot on a player. Very true. Both Les Snead and Sean McVay are not afraid of taking those shots, especially if it doesn't cost that much, right? If the Broncos do lose Zach Wilson, they may prioritize re-signing Jarrett Stidham, who won't have much of a market. And so ultimately, the Broncos would have a backup quarterback. They might not be super aggressively trying to maintain a Zach Wilson when you know Bo Nix is probably your quarterback of the future. He's shown more than enough to be at least the quarterback for the next couple of seasons, giving him a chance to grow in that offense in Denver. And so with that being said, yes, Zach Wilson is kind of a similar-esque quarterback, but are you really going to fight super hard and pay $3 million to keep him? Whereas the Rams may be interested in spending that $3 million to sign him, so that way you can maybe have him, again, learn, same thing on Justin Fields, have him learn behind Matthew Stafford, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, have him be coached under Sean McVay, one of the best coaches of all time, and see if what we can do with a quarterback who at some point in his career had some talent enough to be drafted highly and to be regarded highly in the NFL at some point in his young career. He's still a very young quarterback as well. So Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, you guys let me know if you guys had to choose one right now to be the backup for Matthew Stafford and potential future quarterback for the Rams. You let me know which side you kind of lean on. I lean toward the Justin Fields side. If you like Zach Wilson, go ahead and let me know in the comments below before you move on for the day. Last but not least, trivia of the day. Last episode, I did a trivia game. If you guys missed it, make sure you guys watch all the way through the video, as I'm trying to do this trivia every day. One trivia game a day. I have this box here, NFL trivia. I'm just taking random questions and just, putting them up. Last week's question, or last episode's question, was C.J. Mosley and what team he played for before he signed with the Jets as a free agent. It was the Baltimore Ravens, and I did want to give a shout out to a couple people who did put that in the comments last episode. Shout out to Dwayne Smith and shout out to Greg Moeller. Shout out to both of you guys for answering. It was the Baltimore Ravens. And so this week, I kind of did want to bring a new question to the table, one that may be a little bit easier. Who knows? I don't know how you guys feel about these questions, but we'll see what you guys think, as here is the trivia question of the day. And I'll give you guys 10 seconds. I'm going to do it a little differently this time. I'll give you guys 10 seconds to comment without Googling this answer. So what running back led the NFL in yards from scrimmage in 2018 with 2,028 yards? There you go, guys. Got it. 10-second timer so you guys can comment. Okay. Sorry, that was kind of loud probably. So I'll give you guys 10 seconds to comment. If you guys commented and got it right yourself, let me know you did it before the first try. But I did want to try this one out too. I'll give you guys multiple choice options now. So Ezekiel Elliott, A. B. Alvin Kamara, C. Saquon Barkley, or D. Kareem Hunt. What running back led the NFL in yards from scrimmage in 2018 with 2,028 yards? Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, or Kareem Hunt? You guys let me know in the comments below. I'll tell you guys the answer on next week's episode. Obviously our next week's episode. Next episode, I'll try to keep making sure I give you guys some likes and some appreciation in the comments if you guys do comment the trivia correctly. Other than that, that's going to do it for me on today's episode. Make sure you guys hit the comments with your trivia answer. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel if you're not already. Other than that, that's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I am out.